In this HeyRamp video, we're going to look at the one-to-one functionality. To access it, you simply click on it and it will open you a one-to-one dashboard here. Normally you'll see the upcoming one-to-ones that you've planned with your boss. However, in this case, it is founder and therefore you will not see a one-to-one setup. You can typically also see the history of any one-to-ones you've done previously in this button here. Now out here on the left-hand side, you will see a couple of the people that are reporting to Nina in this case. And as you can see, some of them have a date already. That means that they currently have a planned one-to-ones. When you look at Brian, however, there's no date, which means he currently haven't got a schedule set up. So let's go ahead and do that. To do so, we click on Brian and we say schedule your one-on-one. When you click on it, you can select the duration here, where we generally recommend 30 minutes, and the frequency here, where we generally recommend weekly. Down here, you can manage templates, and this is where you can go and set up one-to-one templates if you wish, and you can access these templates, and we have a separate video on how to manage those. So you can go ahead and do that first if you want to set up a particular template for the one-on-ones. Next, you can see the templates down here. In this case, this one here is currently selected, but you can go and select any template you want. When you hover over it, you can see the particular talking points that are included in this template. After you've found the right template, you simply click confirm, and you will see that the format of the one-to-one, or the format of the talking points have been added. Now let's go through this one-to-one screen from top to bottom. First up here, you have a link. Now this is a link to the relevant access level, meaning that you can take this link, put it in the invite, and what will happen is that you will see this screen as the manager. If Brian accesses it, he will see it with his login, meaning he will see what he is able to see as an individual contributor in this particular case. Next, we have the meeting, which is the current screen. We have analysis, where you can see background data of previous one-to-ones. And we have the history, where you can see a history of one-to-ones. Now, we have just set this up, so therefore there's currently no data. Now to go back to the meeting, there's a few things you can do here. So one, you can go and edit the schedule. So for example, if you want to change the frequency, the duration, or the template. Next up, you'll see the first part of the one-to-one. So typically we start out one-to-ones by asking people how they're doing. And that can be anything from terrible to excellent. Now we do this to track and have a good idea of what are people's mood like and how is that potentially impacting performance. Next up, we have talking points. Now when you have a template, the same talking points will automatically be preloaded into every new meeting. However, you can add additional talking points here. We really recommend both you and the employee to add in talking points whenever you have something that you want to discuss in the next one-to-one. This can be very valuable and be very helpful in not getting so many constant interruptions during the day that are not necessarily urgent. So adding the one-to-one talking points can be very helpful in avoiding some of that and make sure all of it get managed during the one-to-one. Next up, we have the action points. And the action points work as most action points do. You can add in a particular task. In this case, it could be setting up an event in February. After that, you can also set up the due date, and you just select the date and say select. And you can also select the particular owner. In this case, would be Brian. Now you can add as many action points, and down here, goals function in the same way. You can add as many action points as you wish. These stay from one one-to-one to the next, so they will not disappear until they've been ticked here that they have been completed. So these will roll over from one one-to-one to the next. Up here, if you add new talking points, they will generally disappear between one and the next unless they're added in as a template. Down here, we have goals. Now for the goals, they work in a very similar fashion to action point. However, if we add a goal here, in this case, finish event accounting for Q1, we can do multiple things. So we can add the due date and so on, as we've done with other things. However, we also have the option to track them here. Now, again, these goals will repeat from one meeting to the next. And if you want to stay on top of things, you can ask in and check with the employee every meeting. Is this pending? Have it not been kicked off? Is it on track? Is it off track? Or is it already completed? Whatever the status of these are, the goals will keep recurring in every one-to-ones until they've been ticked off here as completed. When they've been ticked off as completed, they will disappear and not show up in the coming one-to-one. The last part of the process is down here where we have the performance feedback. In the one-to-ones, you can give a particular score to people, and most scores will be either on target, below expectation, or far below expectation. Sometimes, however, the people that you manage do a spectacular job, and you can add either 1 or 2 bonus points to them. Down here, you'd want to document why you've given the particular grading for this one-to-one. In this case, I've added Brian did exceptional work at last week's event. Now, this is what you want to do. Fundamentally, it's important to score people. If you have someone that you feel is not delivering on expectation, you want to score them in that way. The scoring here is very deliberate, Scoring here is very deliberately meant to be clearly communicating to the individual staff members where they stand in terms of performance. And it's very important to make it clear to people when they're delivering below expectation. So this is the overall one-to-one. And when the one-to-one is finished, you can finish the event down here. Now, for managers specifically, you have a right-hand side out here that you can utilize to track data and information. This is generally only visible to admin or to you as a manager, not to the employee themselves. There's a few things that you can look at here. One of them is progression status, where you can go in and set what the status is with this individual in case there is any. So you could, for example, say, okay, Brian currently have performance issues. Or he's set to our board. He resigned and is leaving in 3 weeks. Besides this, you can also add in when people have joined, what date was their birthday, and very importantly, you can add in things like hobbies, family members, etc. And this can be very good for you helping to build good rapport and show people that you really care about them. So for example, I love adding in some of my staff members' kids' birthdays, because when it comes around again, I'm able to say, hey, Brian, it's your daughter's birthday next week. What have you planned? And when you spend time and effort caring about the things your staff care about, you build much stronger rapport and you show them that you care. So this is some of the very important stuff that most managers unfortunately overlook. And lastly, you have a private notes field down here where you can add in private notes that you want to remember. So that could be things like next week or next month or whatever, follow up on this particular challenge. So let's say you've given the employees some feedback and you want to make sure to remind yourself to follow up on it. You can do that in the private notes. And overall, this is fundamentally the overview of the one-to-ones. As I said, when you're done, you click finish. And as soon as you finish the one-to-one and say continue, and the next one-to-one the following week will be available, again with the standard talking points and the action items and the goals that was not ticked off to be completed. If you have any questions on this one-to-one tutorial, please let us know.